Labour Party have secured this debate in Parliament today on the passport chaos. During COVID, lots of people put off applying for passports, and now that travel has reopened, there's a backlog. That would have been the case whoever was in government.
Well, yes, but at the same time, the government has cut over 700 staff from the Passport Office over the last 5 years. And actually, although lots of people did put off applying for the renewal of their passports during COVID, the numbers that the Passport Office are processing at the moment are no different than the kinds of numbers they were just prior to COVID in 2019 and 2018. So capacity shouldn't have been a problem if the government was properly resourcing this service. And as we've revealed today from the Labour Party, tens of thousands of people are waiting more than 10 weeks to have their passport renewed, which is a direct contradiction to the Prime Minister's claim just a couple of weeks ago in Prime Minister's questions that everyone was having their passport processed in less than 6 weeks. So unfortunately, we are going to see the same kind of backlogs, the same kind of delays, alongside the enormous queues that so many passengers and travellers experienced at half-term and at Easter, insecurity at airports because of the lack of staff there, because of the huge number of vacancies. And whilst the government doesn't have within its gift to resolve all these issues single-handedly, clearly there is a burden on the airlines and the airports to take steps as well. The fact of the matter is that they're sitting back and they're missing in action, and they're not doing anywhere near enough in order to make sure that people, come the summertime, will be able to get on their holidays.
Well, they suggest that airports are taking on more bookings than they can handle. What does the government do about that if that is the case?
Well, look, the problem is that airlines and airports made far too many redundancies, frankly, during COVID, and they didn't avail themselves of the kind of furlough money that they could have, and that furlough money didn't come with the conditions that the trade unions were asking for at the time, that it be attached to job guarantees. And both the industry and government were warned that if you lose these high-skilled jobs like air traffic controllers, like security staff, like ground control staff, it's going to be very difficult to recruit them again. And this is exactly what we're seeing at the moment. Enormous vacancies, particularly in airports like Manchester. And that's the reason why people have been experiencing such queues, because they just don't have the staff to process either security or get the bags on and off the planes. So the government could be doing much more to convene the unions and the industry in order to address these chronic staff shortages and try and build a better and more stable industry for the future. Undeniably, as I say, the government doesn't have the whole solution within its gift, but they could and should be doing much more. And as we exposed recently, Grant Shapps didn't even bother meeting with the industry, with the airports or the airlines until weeks and weeks after we saw the initial chaos at Easter. And it feels very much that this government is far too distracted by their own political infighting and trying to prop up their weakened Prime Minister than they are interested in running the country and getting the bare basics right that people should expect.
Well, the government are criticising the Labour Party over rail strikes. Your party has a historic and enduring relationship with the trade union movement. Nothing wrong with that, of course, but you also exist to represent all workers, people in retail, nurses, teachers, cleaners, people who can't work from home on the days of those strikes, who are frankly going to be absolutely screwed by those strikes. With that in mind, shouldn't you condemn those strikes?
Well, firstly, let me say it is the right of all workers to organise, and of course a fundamental human right to be able to withdraw your labour. We don't want to see these strikes go ahead. They are going to be enormously disruptive, particularly for the kind of workers that you've just described that rely on the rail, mostly in London and the South East in particular, to get into work, but they will be low-paid workers that need a functioning rail system. So we don't want to see this go ahead, but it is not inevitable that they do. And it is utterly risible for the government to be looking around and casting blame when they are in charge. They have it within their gift to pull the unions and the employers round the negotiating table at this moment in time and avoid this massively disruptive industrial action going ahead. The idea that the official opposition should be blamed for rail strikes, and the most disruptive rail strike in modern history, is laughable. And I think we saw that in many of the responses to Oliver Dowden's pathetic petition to the Labour Party last night. It is not inevitable that these strikes go ahead, and the government should be using every single minute between now and Monday night to try and stop them happening. Instead, what they're doing is pouring fuel on the fire, and it feels very much that they're the ones that want them to go ahead. It is incredibly irresponsible.
I want to just finally ask you about your leader, Keir Starmer. the most used word to describe him in focus groups with voters is boring. Whatever Keir Starmer's talents, exciting the electorate isn't one of them, is it?
Well, I think Keir Starmer is a very serious politician and he's very serious about running the country. He's run enormous organisations and he is passionate about changing this country for the better, about delivering a better economy and a better society for working people. Is he likely to create the same drama and distractions as Boris Johnson? No, absolutely not. And I think that's why people see him as a trustworthy, competent leader, full of integrity. And that was demonstrated completely by his statement about resigning if he is fined, which set him in stark contrast to Boris Johnson. And I think for all that people might think he's boring, the other side of the coin is that he is full of integrity and respected by large swathes of the population.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.